You're watching Michael's Basement Review, brought to you by GeekMontreal.com. And welcome to another episode. I would like to kick it off by telling you about a publication house called Silber Media. They sent me some stuff for me to review, and I'm going to review one of their books that they sent me, which is Worms #2. First off, they have a very interesting philosophy on how to print comic books, so I'll show it to you. Right there. Isn't that crazy? It looks like a book of matches. Look at that. That's crazy. When I first got them, I was just like, this is cheap. This is, like whatever. I read it. I was pleasantly surprised by what I found inside. Now, Worms 2 is I wouldn't say murder mystery, but a science fiction mystery. It's pretty intense. There's a lot of interesting storylines going on in there, and it's very easy to follow up on. I haven't read #1. Just because it's this size, and I'll show you what it looks like in the panel. I mean, I was very turned off when I first flipped through. This is basically what each page looks like, a little picture and a narrative to explain what's going on. However, the story is really big. It's fun. I get super addictive. So as far as following the story, this got me hook, line, and sinker. And it's new and it's different. So I would definitely ask your local comic book store about Silber Media. I really enjoyed Worms #2, or the series is Worms. I'll put their website's going to be up while I'll be talking, so you can check them out for yourself. And on to the regular comics. They sent me 2 other books, and I'll review them later on. I'll do little pieces here and there. Okay, what do we want to start off with? You know what? Final Crisis Superman Beyond 3D 2 of 2. Alright. When I first got the book, I thought it was a little bit too out there, but reading the second one and closing it all together, bringing it back in, I wouldn't say it's Grant Morrison's best work at all, but what I did appreciate out of it is his vast imagination of new and different ideas, which are really well presented in this book. You have philosophies on Billy Baston and how that character should be, the Ultra Superman, what's his name? I forget, the blue one anyway, and the idea of him being everywhere at the same time, and just Grant Morrison, and I should hand it to Doug I can't pronounce his last name, on drawing this daring task. So props up for that. And as a story, it was okay. Like it wrapped everything up, and I don't have any questions left. Superman's backward. After Final Crisis 6, like you really see everything just kind of tying right back in. Took a long time to get there. Kind of fucked up the whole series. However, but really I've always been a fan of Final Crisis, and this kind of different thinking and different way of doing a big event. It's kind of really paying off that, and it's making the story that much more enjoyable. Everything, Batman, it's all tying in. Okay, and to this week's big moneymaker, and I'm sure it's going to be, aside for Amazing Spider-Man, the Obama. I don't even want to get started on it. It was a great, you know what? As far as the Obama Spider-Man, I shouldn't even be talking about this, but it's the dating tribute was a great way to suck people into reading Amazing Spider-Man. It was a great story. The Obama thing in the back was just ridiculous. I mean, I'm the chameleon. Brr! It was just beyond stupid. However, I noticed a lot of people. The people are still calling in. Like 2 weeks, like it was last week. People are still calling in for 3rd and 2nd prints, which is crazy. But it's good. Like you go to the comic book store, and maybe these people who never read a comic book, they just look at a cover and they're like, "Hey, this looks really cool. What's this Incredible Hercules all about?" Or Batman, what's going on? There's a big RIP. Is Batman dying? It's like, who cares what they're buying, Marvel or DC? The point is they might buy another comic, And that's always good. And so, I think DC or Marvel, whatever, either company does something like this, they should just rejoice in the fact that they're grabbing people who never pick up a comic book before to walk into a comic book store and try to get that comic, And then maybe they'll see something else. Maybe they'll see an Image comic. That's not the point. The point is, like, a person who's not into comic books is now buying comics. So props for Marvel for doing that. Very ingenious. And to do a great introductory issue of Amazing Spider-Man's love life, that's brilliant. So anybody who's picking up this issue can get into the story and enjoy it. So I tip of the hat to Marvel. Wasn't a big fan of the Obama story, but tip of the hat nonetheless. Okay. Dark Avengers. All right, so the bad guys are now the Avengers that people love. Okay, so I mean, as far as story goes, there's not much meat to it. There is a ton of times where, as a geek, I'm like, "Oh my god, he's crazy! Wow!" And I got super into it, and I think that was awesome. Another thing I did not like is that Norman, like, okay, they had to make Venom look more like Spider-Man, so they gave him this pill, and then he just kind of like he got rid of the teeth. Like Norman was like, "Well, I've been working on this pill, and now's the time to use it," and that seemed really forced in, and it didn't seem natural at all. I mean, from what last I heard of in Thunderbolts, the Venom was accepted by the public, so I don't see why they needed to change him, and they wanted to make him look like Spider-Man. And last time I checked in Amazing Spider-Man, half of New York thinks he's a serial killer, so I don't know why Norman would want him on the team. It just kind of seems like Bendis is doing his own thing, which is fine because he's a great writer. Like he's the top dog, so there's a reason why he's the top dog. But it's kind of like it's forced, it's unnecessary. But the rest of the story was just bunch of geek out moments, a lot of meat to it. They're gonna tackle Morgan Le Fay. Norman Osborn is Iron Patriot, the guy that looks like Captain America and Iron Man. And yeah, there you go. I'm enjoying it. This is hands down the saddest comic book ever. This is such. First of all, this has to be the smartest X book out. It's been taking it's kind of not in a nosedive, but recently they had this new artist on. I forget his name, but he was just god awful, and the story just didn't seem as complex and smart as the original one, as previous stories. So they kind of been just going down, but this kind of really brings it back up on an emotional level. I don't want to say what happens, but this is it's so heartbreaking. Like, you really, and there's just a scene where Madrox is in the closet because he doesn't want to talk to anybody. He's just like this, oh, and it's just like you feel it. You're like, oh my god. So I really got emotionally attached to this issue. It's super sad. It is the best X book out there. I don't care what anybody says. So, or smartest X book out there, I should say. And last but not least, the Mighty Avengers. Okay, they don't really explain how Scarlet Witch comes back. She just shows up. I'm sure they're going to save that explanation for later on. But however, if you do not like Dark Avengers or the New Avengers, the new twist that Brian Michael Bendis has on the Avengers, and you yearn for old school action-packed Avengers, then this is definitely the series for you. They have Dan Slott really nails everybody's voice in this. They're true to their character. I loved it. You got the lineup so far is the Incredible Hercules, Amadis Chow, Henry Pym the Wasp. I forget her name. What's her name? I just can't remember. Jarvis is there. Tony Stark is going to be in there at some point. He's just kind of introduced. The Incredible Hulk, he's there kicking ass. Or kicking the shit out of snow. But, just read it. Super fun. Most enjoyable comic book of the week. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this new direction the Mighty Avengers are going. An old school shout out to Avengers, and I cannot think of the perfect writer, Dan Slott. He's come out of nowhere, taking on Amazing Spider-Man to new heights, the Avengers, the Initiative. Now he's going to be doing the Mighty Avengers, which is awesome. And I'm looking forward to it. So I guess that's about it. I got some other books here. You know what? Don't worry about it. But you know what? I finally did read this. This is Mr. the Glare. This was freaking awesome. I don't know why it took me so long to get to it, but I finally did pick it up. Wow. I've never read such a good Punisher story in such a long time. Well, that's a little bit out the door. But you know what I mean, though? All the old Punisher stories were pretty much the same formula. Just like Punisher shooting bad guys. Punisher, in the Marvel Universe, kind of running into a superhero or supervillain now and then. However, this is like, when the Hood started up the gang thing, I always wondered why the Punisher just didn't, and when they made that Punisher back into the Marvel U, just didn't go down and take down the Hood, because that's what he'd do, like, he's doing some gang shit, that's the Hood, he's like, fuck that, I'm the Punisher, but he never did it, maybe because Brian Michael Bendis said no, but now, finally, Rick Remender's like, hey, Punisher knows Norman Osborn's a bad guy, he wouldn't give a shit about what anybody thinks, he'll just fucking kill him, that's who he is, and now Punisher really has to deal. It was like dealing with I gotta wrap this up. The Sentry and the Punisher. Punisher was like Batman. Sentry was like Superman. But both these guys kill. Sentry kills Carnage. Punisher kills like a crazy fucker. And he kind of even pulled some Batman moves off. I really enjoyed that book. I love the new series. Mwah, mwah.